To read this book, Neighbors by Elizabeth Laban and Melissa DePino. If you really enjoy short stories that have realistic aspects to it, this is not a book of fiction. This is a book that really actually occurred. The book has 295 ratings already. It is part of the Real Thing series. I listened to it with the Kindle Unlimited Read and Listen program. These two women were next door neighbors towards each other. They lived next door with one another for years, raised their children together for years. When one of their marriages kind of went apart and the other one decided to move away, it really affected them. Have you guys ever had a next door neighbor that you built a bond with like this? If you did, please drop a comment below and let me know. How long did it last? Are you guys still in touch? Do your kids like treat each other dang near like siblings instead of neighbors? I don't know. I've never experienced this before. So I think what I really enjoyed about the book most was the fact that it was very vulnerable. It was not all roses and kisses and flowers, and they gave a very unfiltered version of sometimes there were misunderstandings, there were disagreements, there were times where their lives were so dang near seamed together, like sewn together, that they really went from being next door neighbors to best friends. And it was to the point where they would even go to each other to comfort one another instead of going to their husbands at times. So it says that the co-authors share how they became each other's person, proving that friends can be the greatest loves of our lives. I think that is super beautiful. There was a period too where they stopped talking for some years, but they were able to come back together. I know sometimes once you've gone X amount of years without talking to each other, it is really hard to mend that relationship or to pick back up from where you left off. Sometimes it's best not to pick up from where you left off. Sometimes it's best to be like, all right, we're older now. We're a little bit more grown now. We have more life experience. Let's see what happens, because they experience pregnancy and motherhood together, divorce, bereavement, starting over. It says this is the story of finding a life partner under a different roof. Neighbors is a part of The Real Thing, a collection of moving, hilarious, and big-hearted essays on the modern realities of friendship, romance, commitment, and love, with art by Geoff McFetridge. Each story can be read or listened to in a single setting. I don't know if I've listened to other stories in this collection yet, but I feel like I'm definitely going to, because this was a really, really good book. I have no complaints. I think it was all of maybe 68 pages. And yeah, I know I love a good short story, so this really did it for me. Have you guys checked out a book by either of these authors? And actually, it was 32 pages. I'm way off. But still, it was a very good read. It was definitely a 5 out of 5 star read for me. Missing out if you haven't read the book Panic by Harold Shelter. If you enjoy true crime, anything like that, First 48, anything remotely involving crime and hysteria, this is a book that you're going to want to read. It is book 4 out of 6 of the Bloodland series on the Kindle Unlimited Read and Listen collection. That's how I listen to it. Excuse me. This book, the first 3 pages in, someone is unalived, okay? I was so thrown off because it started off so beautiful. You see this man feeding his children ice cream, and it's the end of a beautiful day, and everything's exciting. Mass hysteria is going around because people are seeing so many children being abducted, abused, raped, just extreme amounts of children being unalived, okay? And it creates a mass hysteria at this point, to the point where people are going above and beyond to protect their children. And in the first story of this book, and it's not a fake story, this really actually happened. Like, when I say true crime, the 80s and 70s, the 90s. Okay, question. Do you feel like it was more difficult to be a parent in the 80s, the 90s, or the 70s? Drop a comment below and let me know why. Because it says during the Depression, many people found an outlet in a series of child murderers that triggered an irrational nationwide hysteria. Pedophilic psychopaths were overrunning the country. As America was brought to rage and fury by the press and the FBI, lynch mobs took to the streets, reason gave way to doomsday scenarios, and one father was even driven to murder his 3 daughters to save them from a degenerate crime wave. A terrifying cautionary essay, Panic explores the combustible mix of unfounded fears, moral crusades, and the dangers of collective thinking. If you want to see how crazy a nation can go when you put out some panic inducing stories, there is a reason why some people say they don't watch the news. The Panic book is a part of the Bloodlands series. It is a chilling collection of short page turning historical narratives from the bestseller true crime master Harold Schechter, spanning a century in our nation's murderous past. This author resurrects nearly forgotten tales of madmen and thrill killers that dominated the most sensational headlines of their day. That is all I need to say. This book was certainly a 5 out of 5 star read. This was another short story. I don't remember if the book is available. I want to say it is available in print. It's 62 pages as well. You won't believe what happened to this woman who went to a therapist to try to get some assistance with her drug addiction. And then the therapist actually started a whole relationship with her and tried to get her to stay hooked on drugs. It is by Evan Wright. It is titled Bad Therapist. It has 429 ratings already. It's book 1 out of 6 of the Exposure series. This book was so unhinged because it's a true story and it really actually occurred. You had this therapist that was loved and adored by his community. He had these unconventional ways of helping people to get sobriety and helping people to fight their addictions and battles. When one of his clients and patients gets into a car with him one day because he's taking her somewhere, she literally finds a stash of the therapist's drugs in the car, and she asks him, "What's this?" And he's like, "Oh, that's just some of my coke stash." My boy, what? This was one of America's biggest scandals in the history because it involved a $40 billion drug recovery industry from this man being a predator in Malibu with his rehab ways, okay? It took one woman to start the process of taking this man, Chris Batham, down. He was a respected therapist, addiction specialist, and founder of one of the fastest growing rehabilitation chains in America. But he was a total fraud because he was a meth head with a history of sexually abusing his patients, scamming insurance companies, and eliminating whistleblowers like Rose Stahl. But this wasn't his first victim, and it would not be his last. Miss Stahl would risk her life, literally almost become deceased, to bring this man down so that people could stop falling victim to him. Can you imagine trying to seek help from a therapist and your therapist becomes the person you need saving from? I had saw a story in the headlines not too long ago about this therapist that started stalking one of his patients because he wanted to be in a relationship with her. What happened to therapists having therapists? What happened to the checks and balances system? This book was super unhinged. It was my first time listening to a book by this author, but it definitely won't be a last time because I really enjoyed it. It was a short story. It's part of one of those series where you can listen to each story in one setting, or you can listen to them all together because they're that darn good. I want to say the book is available in print form. The book length was very short and sweet. I want to say this book was I think it was 180 pages. It wasn't too bad because it only took, I want to say, 3 or 4 hours to listen to with the Kindle read and listen thing that they have. If you've ever had a nuts therapist, I promise they don't top this man at all. You're missing out if you haven't listened to Justified Privilege by Charity Shanae. I listened to it with Livy. This isn't the first time listening to a book by her. It is a book of urban fiction. If you love one of those books where the main character, main male character of the book, he doesn't play about his woman and he's willing to come in and defend his woman. This is a book about a woman who is a single mother. She's doing her best to co-parent with her baby father, but the man just is not getting it. Okay, so Just is a very complicated man. He is the oldest son of Dominic Kincaid and has been the burden and often a curse. Newly released from jail and back home in Crescent Falls, Just is determined to finally get his life together, and he's seemingly on track. However, one thing is missing: the right woman to build with. This man is very talented. He is a tattoo artist. And when he sees Monet again after some years of them not seeing each other, these two be googly eyeing each other and they just cannot keep their hands off of each other. And Monet is going through a complicated period because her baby father is one of those men of, if I can't sleep with you, I'm not coming to take care of the kid. I'm not coming to spend time with them. Oh, you got my baby around a nigga? Then I'm not coming to pick him up like I said I would. That man was really wanting to break his own son's heart just to make sure that Monet wasn't dealing with someone else. And she did slip up and gave him some cheeks one time 4 months ago. She did, but at the same time, everybody makes mistakes. Okay. So when Just sees, okay, I still want to be involved with you, but let's just keep having fun. Monet really isn't feeling it. And she tells him, we can be friends, but that's all this is going to be until you show me that you're ready to do something serious. Because all we've been doing is knocking boots, and you've been knocking my lace front off, and you tattooed slippery when wet above my hoo-ha. But at this point, I want more than this. So if you think that we're going to keep doing this, I'm getting older. I want something healthy. I want something long lasting. Even Just brother at the beginning is thinking about proposing to his sibling, and he thought not his sibling. Good Lord. Just brother is thinking about proposing to his lady, and Just is surprised by this because the brother has always been a player. So when you already are seeing your other siblings getting locked in with a woman and you're the only odd man out, Just is like, I'm gonna do whatever it takes to show you I'm not playing about you. I can't even get you out my mind. It's even to the point where he is getting sloppy toppy from another woman that he works with. And he's thinking about Monet so much that he can't even focus on standing up at attention. This was a good book. I will listen to any book by this author at this point. There are some spicy scenes too for you little nasty freaks that enjoy that. I find that this book, Nightcrawlers by Rosecrans Baldwin, highlights a lot of the racism and intentional ways that communities still are segregated, not in the South, but in the North. It is borderline a sundown story. It is a true story that is still occurring in America today. It has 589 ratings. It's a part of the Exposure series. It is book 6 out of 6. There is this community that literally it's a community in Connecticut. They have children and teenagers working the ambulances and coming to the rescue. And at first I thought this was an insane idea. Who in their right mind would do this? Apparently Connecticut thinks it's a good idea. Is this all of Connecticut? No, it's not. It's one specific area. So when you get into a car accident, when someone's deciding they want to unalive themselves, there is a team in this high school that goes out. So it says it's about a revealing ride along with New England's teenage volunteer EMTs, boys and girls pulled away from their homework to save lives when the sun goes down. It's in Darien, Connecticut. It is a tradition there. I'm thinking at first, like, this is going to be such a feel-good story. It's teaching these children about how to handle things in mature situations. There are a vast variety of different kids. So one is a varsity soccer captain. There's a future doctor, a band dork, a theater geek. Theirs is a view of a town without the niceties, a drunken spouse turned violent, lonely old lady stuck in the bathtub, a midlife suicide. How do these kids process the sometimes shocking and violent life and death secrets of their community? What I also thought was interesting was them trying to look into how did that amount of stress affect these teenagers going into adulthood. They all worked at this place and it was called Post 53. It is still into effect today. Now, the part of this book I wasn't expecting was how much this community is very tightly knit. You got to have money to live there. Okay. So it's like, if you're not a millionaire, you're not going to live in this community. If you don't have a sticker saying that you went to a certain school on the back of your car, some of these police officers will even pull you over. It is extremely racist. Less than 5% of their community is of color, is Black. It's even to the point where for Halloween one year, for a theme of a party, they even thought it was a good idea to have a slave auction. And this was in the last 10, 15 years of the theme for the party. This book was 43 pages. What shocked me the most was when there was a comment made of, well, why would Black people want to live here anyway? Why would we want to live in a peaceful environment where you guys are thriving? Why would Black people not want nice things too? This book was insane. You will like this book if you like true crime as well. The Pied Piper by Harold Shetzer. I already read a book by this author earlier on. So, this book was extremely good because you're having a man who is breaking into homes and he's doing all types of things to kidnap people. This is the final book that I finished out for the month of September 2024. It was a book that I will absolutely never forget. It is part of the Bloodline series. Um, very unhinged, very much so not demure. I know that's a word that people love using now. This was none of those things because it's a short story, but I feel like it grabs your attention so much that you just probably should not try to go to sleep right after. It is a book that could be listened to in one setting. I listened to it with a Kindle Unlimited read and listen program. It was a story that made me feel like, you know what? Maybe I don't need to be dating. Maybe I should make sure that I'm triple and quadruple locking my doors and locking my cars. When you listen to books like this, I find that it is hard not to become paranoid. Do you guys feel like people fall victim easier to men that are deranged if they're good looking? This book is about a man that he was in 1964. He was considered a bad boy heartthrob, okay? He had a hold on girls who would follow him anywhere. He had a bunch of groupies. With the girls that he had a hold on and that he was super interested in, he literally murdered 3 of them. The man was still walking around like it was nothing. When I say man, I mean boy in high school. He then graduated high school and still just wouldn't stop. He was an outcast. He was that weird student. He had the charisma, it says, of Charles Manson. He was so flattering that people were just drawn to him. He would even tell his friends, like, yeah, you know, Hannah, I offed her and I buried her. I'll take you to go see where her body is because it smells over there and it's decomposing. The police even question this man. Somehow he gets out of it. I feel like he could have got away with all 3 murders if it was not for his cockiness and the fact he kept going back to the crime scene. Like, he kept going back. He kept showing more people. That's what really got him in the end, because at first none of his friends were believing him. It seemed like his stories were just so irrational and over the top. No one believed him. When one of his victims, the mother and the father, were reporting her missing, they're like, "Oh no, a bunch of kids are running off right now." How many days or hours would you wait before you reported your kids missing? Okay, this is insane. So that just about sums up my books collection of books that I've been reading in September. I've been listening to a lot of audiobooks, mainly through Libby, the Kindle Unlimited read and listen program. I have been getting back into manga books. I'm just really absorbing a lot, but I'm also trying not to burn out. I think I am going to start moving towards bunching more book reviews together instead of publishing them individually, because I am trying to test out some processes. I do want to continue growing my channels on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook. I want to keep growing, but I am noticing that it's time for me to change because I'm not really getting that many views on stuff. I think it's hitting certain people and that's it. And I'm trying to work on it. You can also always find me on my website at alzabrooks.com. I'm always available for hire for authors that are looking for book promoters or someone to wear their books on their shirt like how I do. I will see you in the next video. Are you tired of feeling overwhelmed with marketing your book? Imagine having a team of experts dedicated to promoting your work while you focus on what you love, writing. Our book promoting services are designed to alleviate the stress of marketing and allow you to reach a wider audience. With our tailored strategies and proven results, we can help you to boost your book sales and visibility in the book community and crowded market. Let us take care of the promotional efforts while you concentrate on what you do best, crafting your next bestseller. Alleviate and elevate your author brand and stand out in the competitive world of publishing with our services that are specialized in marketing solutions. Partner with us and watch your book soar to new heights.